Hey, thanks for hanging with me. This is Coach Shaun, Coach in Your Corner. The last video, and thanks for those that have watched the video. Thanks for those that have watched the shorts. I appreciate it. It was one of the hardest stories of my life. I've shared it now many times all across the state where I am and elsewhere. Encouraging and inspiring people to not quit, to be resilient in the face of difficult challenges and difficult situations, and in the face of bad news and bad reports. Don't quit, don't give up, because what do you quit to? What do you give up to? And that kind of is where I was. After videoing yesterday, I kind of thought to myself, what would I want to tell you now? What would I say now? Because I know so many people are facing situations and dark days and journeys like I've been through, maybe with not such good outcomes, but at the same time is, what can I share now with you to encourage you? And I thought to myself, the one thing that I could focus on now is, what did I do? What did I do to keep me going during that time? What kind of sustained me? I can talk about my son and what he's, but that's his personal journey. So I can talk about me, because what I did was I focused totally on him for the time. I took out time. My wife was stronger than me. I wasn't always doing great. Emotionally, I was affected deeply by that, and it still does. As you saw in the last video, it affects me. It touches me deeply, and since then, actually, I'm like an emotional, a little bit of an emotional, I don't want to say wreck, but I'm very sensitive to things. And because that was a deep situation that we went through for me. And maybe looking at, how did I cope? What did I do to get through that journey may help you as well. I didn't always, as I say, make it. I didn't always do well. I didn't always cope and hold it together. Many days I felt overwhelmed, but I would do it in the quiet. I would go for a drive and just fall apart in the car. And I think there's three things I should, three important things that kind of held it together for me at that stage in time. And one is my faith. I know God's faithful, and I know His promise is true. So that kind of was the first thing that I based on. I've journeyed this for many years, and I know, and I should know, and I must know, and I leaned on that knowing. During the day, I would be strong with my son. We would go to chemo. I didn't miss anything. I stayed with him through 2 surgeries. I stayed with him through every chemo session. I went to every oncology visit, every hospital visit. Every day I would meet with him before the day even began. Some days he had something to say, some days he didn't, and then we would just sit quietly. We watched, as I said, we watched Band of Brothers, we watched Pacific, we watched Vikings, every episode. I would just sit with him. Whatever he needed, that's what I would do. And if he needed to process things, I've been an executive coach, I've been a pastor, so I can fit into that role. And I think sometimes that's what you need to do, is people don't want to hear, lectures. They don't want to hear prescriptions and formulas. What they want is just somebody to be there. And that's kind of what I decided to do, was just be there. And so during the day I was there and I was strong, and I would give him things like, every day today we fight. Today is a new day that we fight. Today we're going to take on the chemo. Today we're going to take on the mindset. Today we're going to stay focused. We're going to... He was a swimming, a competitive swimmer back in the day at high school in England. And he understands what it is to get in the pool and work hours. And so I said to him, I said, today we're in the pool of life. Let's swim. Let's do this together. And I remember when my eldest son was swimming, we would have to go to the pool like early hours of the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I remember one champion swimmer was there, and she would just swim up and down, up and down. She was a distance swimmer, endurance swimmer. And her coach would be there every single time. And he would just stand alongside the pool and monitor her speed, and he'd be going, with a whistle, just to let her know she's either on pace or off pace. Sorry for the loud whistle. But, and I remember that so clearly. And when a coach is most necessary when they're struggling, when the team is struggling, when a player is struggling, when an athlete is struggling, they need their coach at that point in time. And my son, and all my sons, they are, part of my team. And when one is struggling, I need to come alongside. And so even though I wasn't handling things too well at night, so when he went to bed and the whole family went to bed, I would listen to, Christian songs that encouraged my heart. And I would just sit there and just fall apart, because that would be my release. But then I would go and I would listen to teaching. I would listen to Bible on tape, etc., etc. Anything to feed me so that I could be strong again the next day for him. And I didn't want to be weak, except the one when we went to the last oncologist's visit. That's when I felt that's when I fell apart in the day. So the thing about it is that even though I didn't have there was no like super thing going on around me or anything, but just knowing, I just had a knowing inside of me that I can lean on this. I have to. I didn't have any other option. He's like, I'm going to lose my son to cancer, and if he's fighting for his life, it was a death sentence. And what do? And so you rely on the one thing that's above everything else. Naturally we can, but when you get to the point where chemo's not helping, and you see him laying on the couch, curled up in a fetal position, and suffering through that stuff being deposited into his body, and you can't do anything. You can't. I wished I could have taken his place, but I couldn't. There was nothing I could do, but I could lean on God's supernatural help. I could lean on him as strength, at that point in time. And of course, that's where my son had his experience, So when I was coming to the end of myself, coming towards just before his major surgery, where that would be the telltale, basically. And he has an experience. This bright light comes into his room, and Jesus speaks to him. And it was real. Listen, he at that point in time, he wasn't being super spiritual or super Christian or anything like that. He just was a normal teenager. But he suddenly has this experience, because, when you're facing death, I think it changes your perspective on life. It changes what's important to you. And this was important. He started praying, because he's facing life or death. And Jesus speaks to him in his room at that point in time and says, everything's going to be fine. And that was it. That's all he needed. He believed that. He knew at that point in time. That was his knowing. And he knew. And from that point onwards, he just stayed with it. So my first anchor was faith. My second anchor was purpose. I had a role to play. There was something I had to do. I was a dad. I was a coach. And I had to show up. I had to show up every day. I had to be there faithfully. I didn't have all the answers. I didn't have the formula, as I said. But I had to be there. I had to be the one encouraging him. And when he fell down, he would come in. And I would give him things to do. He wrote out, I don't know, maybe 30 or 50 affirmations on cards. That when he got chemo brain, when you're going through chemo, you get this chemo brain. It's all fuzzy and you can't. And when he would go there, he would begin to read off these affirmations in the mirror to himself. That was like one of the little things that I gave him. And like I said, we would sit in the mornings and we would just talk things through. Sometimes he wanted to just talk about his struggles in his mindsets. And I would help him with that, because I was a dad, but I was also a coach. I often say, and I said this I think on LinkedIn a couple of years ago, but if ever there was a coaching situation that was my success story, it was this one. Not that I can take any credit, but what I'm saying is that as a coach, I saw my team player come through, and that is incredible to me. I was able to walk with him on that journey to get through that. And that's what you need. That's maybe what you need to be to somebody, or somebody or you need somebody in your corner coming alongside you. And so I had to show up daily. I had to show up faithfully. I had to show up, and I had to show up strong. So I would work at night to be strong during the day, and prepare myself just like I do now. It's like just before rugby season, I start preparing now. I start watching rugby videos. I start watching old webinars and looking at techniques and tactics and strategies again, and looking at the rules of the game, etc., etc. I prepare now for the time when I meet with the players and we start preparing for our tournaments. And I had to do that, Fortunately, I prepared, I kind of have stayed with it. I've stayed faithful to my faith through many, many years. And so that did count, I suppose. But anchor number 3 is people. People were incredible. My sons were incredible. My family, my wife was amazing. She worked right through that time. We had just come to the country, so we had to start all over again, and we had no income coming in. But she went and started, and she just kept going. She was amazing. She was so strong. Just very, very grateful for that. But not only that, but people, like unassuming people. You would think insignificant people, but they were very significant in that time. And a lot of friends from places like England and South Africa messaged me every day, messaged me every single day, just to encourage me. My son couldn't handle it, but too much information coming in, but I was there, and it helped so much. Just having that support, just having somebody that I could call in tears and just pour out my heart, and them listening to me was amazing. They didn't say anything flashy. All they said was, hey, here's here's a scripture to encourage you. We're thinking of you. We're praying for you. It wasn't about them. It was about what we were going through. The last 2 weeks after the oncology visit to the surgery was the scariest 2 weeks of my life. And it's amazing, like some people withdrew from me. Some people didn't follow up, just got quiet. It was amazing. But some people really stepped up to the plate. And I understand, sometimes you don't know what to say. You don't know how to convey, your sympathy or your empathy in that situation. I understand that. But I'm saying to you is that if you're in a difficult place, understand that some people don't know what to do. They don't know what to say, and so they won't be there. But some people will. Some people step up to the plate and say something, not flashy, not enormous, but they say something that's going to mean something to you. And I often say to people, sometimes it's not what you say, it's just the fact that you do say it. Or even that you make known that you are there. It gives such moral and emotional support. It just is incredible. So, people's presence, that's what carries you. So if you're in a tough place, if you're in a difficult situation, don't wait to feel strong to display resilience. Don't feel you need to be strong before you actually walk beside somebody that's going through a difficult time. Hey, listen, sometimes I've got to arrive at the pitch with the players, and I don't feel motivated in my life. I don't feel very motivated to motivate them and to help them and to instruct them. But you know what? They need me, so I pitch up. They there, I will be there. And even if they're not there, I'll be there. So that's how I build it in as a coach, I'm going to be in your corner. It doesn't matter what happens. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to condemn it. I'm not going to criticize it. I'm just going to be there. I'm going to be standing there. I'm going to be with you. I don't understand everything. I don't have answers to everything. I don't, assume that I know everything. I'm not going to project that I know everything. But I know some things, and the some things that I know, I'm going to apply. I'm going to do my best to be there. And that's basically what it is. So, but, today I'm not talking about a formula. I've spoken about 3 areas, but this is just one man's story. This is just my story. This is just my journey. Everybody's journey is different, as I said before. And if my journey and my story and my perspective helps you, then, I'm very grateful. I'm very glad I can inspire you, help you, encourage you. You don't need to have it all figured out. I didn't. You just need to stay in the fight. You just need to remember you're not in the fight alone. I'm in your corner. God's in your corner, whether you know it or not, He is. And you don't have to have all the answers straight away. You don't have to have all the strength straight away. Just stand firm. Just stay in the fight. Don't quit. You can do this, or you can be the key to somebody else getting through the fight, getting through their fight. That's the thing, is like, I spoke about consideration. It's because, every day we meet people that are in some fight or another. And what their fight, I may look at their fight and think, what, that's not a fight. But to them it is. To them, it's life and death. It's survival. And I've got to respect that, You and I, we've got to respect others' fight, their journey, what they're going through. One man said to me one day, he said, I said, how are you? And he said, well, there's others worse than me. And, I've heard that so many times, and I said, well, that's probably true. But the fact of the matter is, you're not them and they're not you. What you're going through is you. And where you are mentally, where you are emotionally, where you are in your environment, it may mean that it's life and death to you. And so, I never ever, and so I said to him, don't demean yourself. Don't put yourself down. I get it. Think less of yourself. I get that. But I said, to me, your journey, your challenge is important, is significant. And I want you to make it. And I want to be here to help you. I want to be here to journey with you. So whatever you're going through today, it's significant. It's not nothing. All right? It's not nothing. It's something. It doesn't matter how others may say, well, it's what are you complaining about? And you're not complaining. Trust me. Sometimes you're not complaining. I honestly just wanted somebody to hear the pain, the grief that I was going through. And sometimes they didn't want to hear. But thank God there was people that did listen. And did gave me room to just share my hurt and my pain and the grief I was going through and the struggle that I had. Even though, I said there was a war between my head and my heart. And even though I'm going in this, my heart knew what was true, but my head was struggling. I was emotional, a wreck. And, some people were just kind enough, considerate enough to allow that. But some couldn't handle it, and that's fine. Again, everybody's journey is different. All right, hang in there, stay in the fight. Take one step at a time. Don't quit. Don't quit. This is Coach Shaun saying thank you for hanging with me. Till next time.